Well, thank you, Miigwech Chief Laforme and Alan. It's always a pleasure to have both of you with us, and we appreciated that you took the time. And it was such a relaxed conversation that you also gave us a sense of what transpires when you, Chief Laforme, meet with the Mayor of Caledon. So again, Miigwech. So good morning again. So this is, the ROMA conference. We kind of start on the Sunday. Pardon me, we say a few hellos, but this is actually the formal welcome by the ROMA board. And I just can't tell you how excited I am to see so many of you. I know I felt the energy in the trade show last night. You couldn't move, but what it was over and over again was seeing people, friends, colleagues that they hadn't seen for a while. So the turnout of this conference has exceeded our expectations, as you well know. You've heard that from a few of us. But it is a clear sign of your commitment to your communities. I promise you that you will go back home with new ideas and energy, as well as a better understanding of what unites us across Ontario, across rural Ontario. Our conference theme, Breaking New Ground, speaks to ROMA's efforts to break new ground on how we can make rural Ontario stronger. It's not just about innovation, although you will hear a lot about that while you are here. It's about rethinking rural Ontario's place in the social and economic vitality of the province today and into the future. Many of you are newly elected to council, so let me take another moment to talk about ROMA broadly. It bears repeating, I had a lot of questions last night. So the ROMA board is made up of 15 people. And yesterday I acknowledged some of the seniors, some of the people who've been on the board for many years. And I talked about Bill Vribosh from the north, Chris, who is probably here today, and Alan Thompson. And we had the chance to talk about Alan's contributions yesterday, and then you could see for yourself, if you didn't know him, what an amazing member he was and chair. I also wanted to mention Eli L. Chantry from Ottawa. He was a member of the board for many years, chose not to run for re-election, and we miss him greatly. So those were some of the people who were elected by the ROMA board, or to the ROMA board by you over the years. Again, 10 are elected here at this conference once every 4 years, and the voting will begin, I think it's at 10 o'clock, out in the foyer, and I'm encouraging you to vote. 5 members of the ROMA board are elected every 2 years at the AMO conference, and they are the ROMA Rural Conference, and that's where I sit. There's a zone, so for the elections today, if you're confused, if you're in Zone 7, which happens to be my zone, our amazing member from Zone 7 decided not to run again, so there is a vacancy, and we'll be running a by-election in February or March. Zone 8, there's no election because that person was acclaimed, and I'm looking to see if Krista's with us. The mayor of Mississippi Mills was acclaimed, and so she will be your Zone 8 rep on the board. So that's just a little bit of a background again on who we are and how we get to be there. The municipal sector is powerful when we find that common ground and advocate for shared goals. And we know we are the weakest when we work only on our individual needs. So in that way, having the rural board, the ROMA caucus, part of the rural caucus of AMO means that our voice is heard at AMO as well. Now, we know the last few months has been challenging for the provincial-municipal relationship, and you're going to hear from the Premier shortly. From a municipal perspective, attainable housing has been in crisis for some time. For a while, it largely impacted those with lower incomes. But now that crisis is hitting the middle class, and the federal and provincial governments have mobilized. There are a number of factors that have contributed to our current predicament. Addressing municipal planning and approvals alone will not address the challenge. To support more housing, we need to expand basic municipal infrastructure and services and remove barriers contained in provincial legislation, regulation, and the provincial policy statement. To create a stable housing market, we need tools that will motivate realtors, investors, and developers to meet community needs while turning a profit, and you're going to hear from Kathy Woods a little bit more about that after the Premier. To build more attainable homes, we need to address inflation, supply chain, and labor shortages. Rural communities are unable to pay for big infrastructure and service expansions with taxes and fees alone. Think of the last road that you had done in a village or a hamlet. For a short road, you're almost into the $3 million for that bill. So without enough affordable rentals, we can't recruit workers and address labor challenges. We need real collaboration among all orders of government and the housing industry if we want effective solutions to what is a national, provincial, and local crisis. Housing is a basic need. It is at the core of our health, well-being, and economic participation. It is the key to creating a thriving community. At the end of the day, we need to make sure rural Ontario can offer a range of attainable housing options to meet the needs of all, including newcomers, young families, working people, and seniors. Like COVID, housing is a social and economic crisis that calls for everyone to stop finger-pointing and work together. COVID has demonstrated that we can all work together, and Ontarians expect us to. ROMA is committed to do our part to find solutions and leverage the opportunity that can be found within the crisis. 1 year ago, we unveiled a 5-point rural plan for action. It was built on broad consultation with rural leaders and experts. Our paper, Opportunities for Rural Ontario in a Post-COVID World, offers strategies around 5 key themes. These include digital connectivity, housing affordability, access to services, workforce development, and growth on our own terms. The paper can be found on our website. Digital connectivity will be the foundation of rural Ontario's future. I see that Mayor Thompson has joined us in the audience again, and when he was in this position as chair of ROMA, he was relentless in encouraging the government to come to the table with money. It is essential infrastructure for business, public services, and overall quality life, as well as public safety. Both the federal and the provincial governments have made commitments to connect the country and province by 2026-2025, respectively. Billions of dollars have been committed. Everyone has worked hard, and we understand that the reverse bids have been closed, and we wait to hear who won the bids. ROMA encourages both governments to get the agreement signed and make it happen. In terms of access to services, rural communities need innovative approaches to delivering and funding services in our communities. This could be bringing services to people and also includes how we maintain and fund infrastructure and services. Developing a growing and diverse workforce will be essential to meeting future needs. We need to attract newcomers and keep our youth. COVID broke down the geographic barriers, meaning both employees and employers are searching further and wider than ever before. Rural communities need new ways to manage and leverage opportunities for growth while maintaining rural quality of life. During the course of this conference, we'll be giving you updates on our key themes. Housing attainability, I've already mentioned yesterday afternoon. It was our first priority for obvious reasons, including the fact that it's critical to a number of the other themes. Our task force on attainable housing, the report that we released at the AMO conference in August, makes dozens of recommendations to help accelerate new housing and to create new incentives to develop housing across the spectrum in our communities. And as I told you yesterday, in the few recommendations I shared with you, because I didn't want anybody falling asleep because it's a little dry, but all of the recommendations that we've made that will build more homes in rural Ontario do not have a price tag on them for the provincial government. Municipalities are also on the front lines of social issues like homelessness, opioid addictions. COVID has worsened what was already a crisis. So consider this. More than 13,000 Ontarians lost their lives during COVID. Sad and such a tragedy. So that was in the 2 years of COVID. From 20 to 21, in 1 year, 6,000 Ontarians died of opioid-related deaths. So as you are painfully aware, both in rural and northern communities, we've not been spared. And delivering harm reduction programs and services in rural settings is a challenge, and as well as limited to other health care services. We need to work on that, and I think that will likely be the next project that ROMA takes. How do we get services in our communities? Rural homelessness looks different than it does in urban. Anybody who came in on the train and came by a cab up to the hotel or walked, you saw a lot of things that you might not see in the real rural, to quote Pam Saney of Ontario. Rising rents have priced many working people and families out of the market. Couch surfing and living out of cars and campers is a last resort for far too many. Many rural homeless live rough in ravines and wooded areas. We need to take a different approach to outreach and services for this population. Rural communities also feel the growing social and economic impacts of homelessness on our main streets. Supportive housing and other options are needed. These are not somebody else's problem. These challenges are fraying the fabric of our communities. The bottom line is that we can do better, and we must. Rural life has always held challenges, and rural people have always had resolve, resilience, and kindness. In municipal government, we know what our communities need to thrive. We know that they are full of promise and untapped potential. We have innovative ideas and solutions based on first-hand experience, boots on the ground, living in our communities. And ROMA stands shoulder to shoulder with you and raises your concerns to the provincial government whenever we have the opportunity. Our conference program is evidence of that, and I hope you take advantage of all to offer. In a moment, you will hear from Premier Ford. ROMA looks forward to strengthening our partnership with the Ontario government and finding creative solutions that will suit the diversity of communities across our great province and specifically in rural Ontario. Moving forward, we hope you keep in touch with ROMA on our website, Facebook, and others. So how do you keep informed? You can call me anytime, 613-328-1051. As well, I urge you to get to know your zone representatives. They will be listed on our website after the election. We'll announce them this afternoon. ROMA works on your behalf. Your input is invaluable to our efforts to build stronger rural municipal governments. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the conference.